All right, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. kind enough to join us this day after the big debate. It's always good to have you, Robert. I just wonder, you're a pretty smooth debater in your own right. Were you painting for Donald Trump? A lot of his biggest supporters say that he just didn't bring his A game to the debate last night. Karl Rove saying that the debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump was a train wreck for him. Do you agree with that?
I thought, or I just watched the previous segment that you did with Doris Kearns, who I've known for, at least 40 years, and her husband, Dick Goodwin, who's very, very close friends since I was a little boy. And I think I haven't seen a better assessment or a more fairly delivered assessment than the one that she gave. I think that Vice President Harris clearly won the debate in terms of her delivery, her polish, her organization, and her preparation. I think on substance, President Trump wins in terms of his governance, but he didn't tell that story. In fact, the first question was an extraordinary lost opportunity, because this was a question, and I think Doris pointed out that she never answered, which is, are Americans better 4 years later? And there's really no argument for saying that they are, by all the indicia by which you measure social deterioration. We have doubled the inflation rate. The housing rates have doubled in the last 4 years. There's 15 million more people, Americans, living in poverty. We have these enormous suicide rates, enormous overdose rates, and we're in 2 wars, and all of these things can be attributed to the poor leadership from the Biden-Harris team. And that's the argument that he should have been making, but he got distracted. Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate, because I think he really had an airtight argument for his presidency, but he was not able to make that case to the American public.
He says, and he's commented a couple of times today, that he won the debate, and all the polls show that he won the debate. I haven't seen a single one to show that. What did you think of that reaction?
Well, I have seen those polls. They're not. They're polls that you see on on the internet, and a lot of them probably have statistical problems with them. Right. But I would suspect that the polling over the next week is going to show, probably a slight drop in his support, particularly among independents, as people migrate, because I think it was the first introduction that Harris had to the American people. She's been very skillfully kind of hidden, and she has not done an interview, and this was really an ideal forum for her, because there are these 90-second sound bites, and you don't really go into the next level. And I think that she's very vulnerable in a long-form interview that she'd do on a podcast or on a program like this. I think this is the ideal forum for her to display, her kind of skills, and I think she did that very well. And I think President Trump did not tell his story, which is a very, very good story about his presidency, and I think that he didn't convey that as well as he could.
But just to be clear then, Robert, you are not changing your mind or fearing that you hooked up with the wrong horse here, that you're still supporting him to take the White House?
No, on the issues that I consider important. I mean, look, I was listening to the substance, and on the substance, President Trump wins. On the war, Vice President Harris bragged about the endorsements by John Bolton and by Dick Cheney, and 225 neocons who have come out to support Vice President Harris this week. These are the people that gave us the Iraq War. These are the people who have given us the endless forever wars. These are the people who gave us the Patriot Act, the surveillance state, the censorship state. And they're not changing their affiliation to the Democratic Party because they've changed their beliefs and their values. They're changing it because the Democratic Party has dramatically changed. It's become the party of war. The party that I grew up with, the party of Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy, is gone. That was the party of peace. It was the party of civil rights, constitutional rights, free speech, and abhorrence of censorship. It was the party that of the working class, of cops and firefighters, of labor unions.
Yeah.
And the Democratic Party today is the opposite. It's the party of war. It's the party of the wealthy. You know, 70% of the wealth now is controlled by the Democrats, 30% of the Republicans. So you've had this inversion, and it is the party of censorship. It's the party of surveillance.
Those forces remain for you, Robert, right?
Dangerous.
Regardless of the debate performance, those forces remain. The reason why I want to get back to the debate, if you don't mind, Robert, is that we're used to lots of presidential debates, not all the time. Richard Nixon, after his experience with your uncle, didn't debate in 1968 or in 1972. But when your uncle was debating Richard Nixon, I believe there were 4 debates that year, 3 debates, the last go-round, 3 debates before that go-round. This might be a one-and-done deal. What do you think of that?
Well, I've heard 2 things from the Trump people today, and I think that they're, at this point, that they want a second chance at a debate, and that President Trump is confident that he'll do very well the next time around. But I don't know whether the Harris campaign will agree to that. So I don't know what's going to happen. And as you know, Neil, this is the craziest election in history. It's the craziest election that you've ever seen, and I've ever seen. It's topsy-turvy. You look back at just a month ago when in the days after the shooting at Butler, President Trump was invincible, and then President Biden pulled ahead. President Biden drops out. President Harris pulls ahead. You have the convention. She doesn't get the bump. President Biden pulled it over the last week. President Trump has pulled ahead again. So this all happened in this very, very accordion time frame. We have 52 days left in this election, and I would not be a person to make predictions about what's going to happen next.
No, I hear you on that. If you heard and read the script, you'd think it was something out of Hollywood. It's real. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., great seeing you again. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, Neil.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.